My name is Chloe. My husband, Liam, and I have been married for 10 years, and I was a full-time homemaker. We both adore children and hope to have our own, but it was taking a long time. We were initially nonchalant about it, claiming that it was a blessing in disguise. After 5 years of being childless, we decided to seek reproductive treatment. Liam believed it was something women went through, and that the inability to have children was an issue on the woman's end. He was certainly not cooperative. Furthermore, the treatment was expensive, and when he saw me constantly becoming ill as a result of the side effects, he would ask, "Who do you think is paying for this? I'm not paying a lot of money, so you can get sick in bed." He was continually complaining. After 5 years of treatment, he appeared to have lost patience. Despite the best efforts of both myself and my doctor, I was unable to conceive a child, and the expense of therapy continued to rise. He finally sought a divorce after becoming frustrated with the scenario. I tried to speak with him and asked him to rethink multiple times. He had most likely given up on me by this point, so he refused to talk. At the age of 40, I planned to divorce and become single again. I felt like there was a gaping hole in my chest, yet I worked hard to stay alive. When I was going through treatment, I got a part-time job to help with the high expenditures. Fortunately, I was able to continue working in the same position, and they even increased my hours once I explained the circumstances. In addition, my manager had been discussing upgrading me to a full-time role for some time, so he submitted my application to the head office on my behalf. My days went by quickly and feverishly from then on. Approximately a month after I left Liam, my life changed dramatically once more. My dearest buddy from high school died in a vehicle accident with her spouse. We used to share our happiness and grief together. I was having problems conceiving until we filed for divorce. She was always by my side. At first, I couldn't believe she had left. However, when I saw her face at the funeral, I felt as if the colors had fled from the universe. As I was leaving the funeral home, someone drew my attention, a little primitive figure on the edge of the parking lot. I'd met him several times. He must have just started elementary school. I had no idea how large he had gotten. The small figure stuck in time was Alexander, my late best friend's son. My chest clenched as I saw him sit there with his knee to his chin, staring blankly at the ground. I pondered what would happen to him now that he had lost his parents and was suddenly alone. Both of his deceased parents have no living family members, and I did not have any close relatives. I was concerned he'd be moved around to other foster families. I could not grasp the concept. As an outsider, I expected to raise a disturbance by expressing such a thing, but it was granted quite quickly after agreeing not to ask for any assistance in any way. Alexander agreed to depart with me without hesitation. After that, everything fell into place, and I accepted the great burden of raising him alone. As expected, my life as I knew it was over. Every day felt like a storm, and I learned how difficult it was to care for a child. I grew up with tremendous regard for all parents around the world. My days were hectic but also enjoyable. Alexander and I clashed from time to time, but I gave him the most love I could. He grew up with no significant illnesses or injuries. After nearly 10 years of living together, he had just begun high school. We were out shopping for dinner when we ran into Liam. He appeared astonished to see Alexander standing next to me, but then he began to speak mockingly. Why do you have such a large son? Were you cheating on me? Hey, don't make such terrible accusations. I knew it. He must be the offspring of your affair. Otherwise, you would not have such a mature son. Stop it. I've never cheated on you, and we've only ever lived together. Anyway, he is mine. I tried to explain, but he repeatedly interrupted me. He never listened to others when he felt something was wrong, but I thought he had gotten worse than before. He gave me a strange smirk as he said, "Oh my God, were you dumbed down by your adulterous partner? Poor you. I imagine you were struggling because you weren't making much money. You fool, you are so disrespectful." Liam, and possibly amused that I was insulted, continues to smirk at me. I was going to walk away from his insensitive guy when I observed something unusual. Why did you suppose I had a child with another man? He was fully aware that I had been on infertility treatment for 5 years. I asked him exactly what was on my mind. Why do you assume he is my child? You know I'm infertile, so why do you believe I had a child with another man? I am just speculating. Even if I cheated on you, you know I can't conceive. That is why we got divorced. Do you have a tendency to forget crucial things? Yeah, it is correct. How many years has it been since our divorce? It was suspicious. He was looking at me condescendingly only a moment before, but his gaze began to shift. His sudden change in attitude increased my suspicions. Is there something you're keeping from me? I am not hiding anything. Really? I took a stride forward, and he took a step backward. When I looked at his face, he had an awkward grimace and began to explain. What he said was startling. After our divorce, one of his colleagues informed him about male infertility. He was curious, so he got tested and discovered he had defective sperm function. In other words, he caused the infertility. He was unwilling to partake in the treatment with me. Therefore, we were unable to produce a child. So you're saying I couldn't conceive because, yes, that was my fault. Oh my God, you were criticizing me for not being able to give you a kid, so you cheated on me and left me. He was calm at first, but as he spoke, his voice became increasingly louder. His emotions appeared to be building up. You knew I had a problem, didn't you? This is why you found someone else. Wait a minute. Alexander is my late best friend's son. She died in an accident, so I took him in and have raised him as my adopted son. Shut up. Shut up. That is a falsehood. You must have been lured by someone. No matter how hard I tried to explain, he didn't listen. I was at a loss for what to do. He was yelling at me at that time. His words were increasingly aggressive. People were glancing at us. I felt quite uncomfortable. As I was about to speak, Alexander, who had been silently watching our conversation next to me, piped out, "I'll call the cops." Liam flinched as Alexander showed his phone to him. After looking at him resentfully, Liam said nothing but clicked his tongue before walking away. "Thank you, sweetie. Just give me a call if you ever need help." He appeared unreasonable, so it is not safe for you to speak with him alone. But no, it is risky. Okay, I couldn't believe my son came to my rescue. I believed he was still a youngster, but his maturity surprised me. Several more years have passed. Alexander was going to graduate from university, and it was time to look for work. We had planned to have dinner together following his job interview. He was running late, so I was waiting for him at our meeting location when Liam arrived in front of me. Nora, Liam? He had the same wicked sneer as previously, but his clothes were ragged and his shoes were holed. He looked so untidy that I wouldn't have recognized him except he called out to me. As I stood there, speechless from amazement, Liam lurched near me. "Hello, honey. Why don't we remarry and live together again?" "What? Yes, let us do that. Let us live together." Unable to grasp his incomprehensible demand, I stood there like a statue. He was coming closer. When his hand touched my shoulder, I pulled back and collided with someone. "Oh, I apologize. I'm okay. Are you okay?" The older man stared at me with anxiety as if he detected something unusual in the air. The man looked at Liam and was about to say something. "Hi, you. Stay away from my mom." Alexander, who had just arrived, moved between me and Liam. Good timing. I am going to be your father, so you will have to support me. Do you understand?" "What the hell? What exactly are you talking about?" A child who grew up feeling unloved and abandoned by his parents must have had a challenging life. Most likely, you will be unable to obtain a good job and will have to live like a loser. If you can't be happy living in poverty, at least be a decent son and spend your time with your father. You're not making any sense. If it were just about me, I could put it off. But making fun of him is abhorrent. My vision became warped with wrath. He knew nothing about us and had no authority to speak about us. I clenched my hand, frustrated. Alexander appeared to be indignant as well. Perhaps he was injured by being taught unfairly at a critical time in his job search. I had to protect him. When I scowled at Liam with all the hatred in the world, the man who had been quietly watching us spoke up. "With all due respect, this young man has already been accepted into my company." "You should have gotten a call today." "Huh? What are you talking about, old man?" "You have nothing to do with us, so please do not become involved. I really do. I believe I have more to do with him than you." "Oh, I apologize. I've introduced myself." The man pulled out his business card. Lion was surprised when he read it and kept looking at the man's face and the card. I looked at the card and saw the title Chief Executive Officer written on it. The company name was identical to Alexander's original pick. Both he and I were too astonished to speak. The man continued to speak calmly. "I was close with Alexander's late father before he died. We used to play golf together, and I used to go to his place. Alexander was really young, so I don't think he remembers me. I also played with you, Alexander. After your parents died, I learned that a friend of your late mother took you in. A beautiful person raised you. I see your late father's influence in your beauty as well as your loving heart. He had a strong sense of fairness, too." The three of us listened closely to the man. He stared at Alexander with compassion before moving his gaze to Liam. His placid voice quickly altered, and he began speaking sternly. "Alexander has grown into a wonderful man, thanks to her and his late parents. On the contrary, what about you? You curse others so bluntly in public. Before speaking evil of him, look in the mirror. Shut up, old man. Don't become too comfortable with me simply because I heard your story. Liam's face turned scarlet as he approached the man. When he was ready to seize the man's throat, other hands stopped him. Calm down. Come join us. Let's talk over there. I was surprised to see the police enter suddenly, so I turned to look at Alexander, who was holding out his phone. I wondered when he called them. I was being protected while I tried to protect him. Alexander's maturity moved me, even though it wasn't the appropriate time to be emotional. He was no longer a small child to be protected. Mom, are you okay? I stared at him with a strange combination of happiness and sadness. He returned my stare with curiosity. Okay, thank you. His tense expression softened as he felt relieved. After that, Liam briefly lost control before the police caught up with him. He was led away with his hand down, as if he had given up. I haven't seen him since then. I heard through rumors that after divorcing me, he remarried a much younger colleague, but they were unable to have children. His wife was insistent, and he reluctantly revealed his infertility. She wanted a child so badly that she was angry with him for not telling her sooner, and they divorced. Furthermore, all of her complaints to her coworkers became public, and he was too embarrassed to continue working there. He resigned from his job, but he was having trouble finding new work. He had to make do with a part-time job to survive. It was during that time that he happened to run into me again, and that was how the whole thing came to be. I don't know where he is or what he is doing now, but I sure hope he'll never appear in front of Alexander and me again. I have consulted with the police and have taken countermeasures just in case. Alexander got his own place after he landed the job. We're still close and talk on the phone every day. He's having a hard time getting used to his unfamiliar life, but he's determined to stand on his own 2 feet. I fell in love at first sight with the CEO who helped me at that time. I invited him to dinner as a way of thanking him, and we had an unexpectedly good time. Since we were both single, we've been meeting for lunch or dinner since then. Alexander is amazed by my excitement at being in love for the first time in a long while. He listens to me and gives me advice. He does a really good son. When Liam and I divorced, I had no idea such a life was awaiting me. You never know what life has in store for you.